All right, let's talk about finding your size on the pattern envelope and then on the actual pattern, so you know what size you want to start off with making for yourself. Well, in the last video or chapter in our book, we took our personal measurements, and now it's time to compare some of those basic measurements up here on the envelope little cover tab to get us to the general placing pattern size. So we're going to be using our waist and our hip measurement, and come over and find out where you fall in the measurement. Here it says I'm a 14. Now, on the pattern, there is also some key measurement listings. This little symbol shows us the hip point that they take a measurement from. Now, these measurements will actually come out to be larger than what you have for the body measurement, right? Because the pattern is made with some design ease, both the wearing ease and the design ease. It's not a form-fitting trouser. It's a little bit loose. So at a size 14, even though my hips will measure 38 inches, I get 6 inches of roominess in here by going to, 4 inches of roominess, going to a 42-inch hip in here, and up here at the top will be the waist, and you can find out where your waist falls. Now, if you want to cut a pant just not as roomy, in fact, I'm deciding to actually cut the size 12 for myself. I still get 2 inches of roominess through my hips, and then I don't have as much roominess at the waist, but I can actually make an adjustment by maybe moving in my dart legs just a little bit to give myself an extra 1/4 inch on this dart, another 1/4 inch on the other side, and give myself a whole nother 1/2 inch then total to my waist circumference on the garment to allow for the wearing throughout the day, to be able to sit in the garment and eat lunch and dinner and things and be comfortable. So once you have determined which size you want to cut, find that size on the multi-markings on your pattern. All right, patterns these days are usually sold with multiple sizing in them, which makes it nice because if you have a hip size and a waist size and a bust size that are different sizes, you'd be able to just blend from one size to the next as you needed to. So in this case, I will be cutting on line number 12 for size 12, so it's the middle line here. And then in some cases throughout the pattern, all sizes may share a universal line. There's no seam allowance differences there. So on that fly facing front and the front crotch seam, you'll see that they all are cut on the same line. Same with the back crotch seam. And then here on my inseam, I've actually already cut the pattern. The other couple things I'm going to point out here before we run out of time is we're going to go ahead and just put our pocket in with the pattern for this muslin fitting. Now, once I get my fitting down and I was making a pair, I of course would want to make the pocket and use the pocket facing. It's just like the hip pocket you made in basic construction. If you refer back to your samples there, that'll work. All right, so I'm going to lay that piece in to finish out my corner up there for my front piece. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and pin my paper together because I want to be able to separate it again later. That way, if I were to actually tape it, it would become kind of permanent for me. And now, once that is on here, let me adjust the camera just a little bit so maybe you can see more. And I'm going to come around here. So, I need to check my overall measurements here. Same with, let me move back up real quick. Okay, my crotch depth. There we go. And actually my back piece shows a better line here at the bottom of the crotch for my crotch depth. But I had already measured that out, and my crotch depth was 11 inches, and it worked just fine. But if I was longer or shorter in that distance, there is a line across here, and on the back also, where it says to lengthen or shorten. Right, so the other measurement we need to take and check to our personal measurement is our outseam and inseam on the pant. Now, your pant pattern has a 1-inch seam allowance at the waist and both on the outseam and inseam. Our crotch seam is a 5/8 inch seam allowance already. So we want to mark these at 1 inch. So I'll know where to set my measuring tape up here. And then down at the hem, notice it is allowing for 1 1/4 inch for the hem depth. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that right there for my measurement. Should do it on the inseam side as well. I could go ahead and finish that mark all the way across. So that's where the pant would fold back up when I am hemming the pant. So now with those marked, and you're not going to be able to see start to finish, unfortunately, in the camera angle I have, but I am setting my measuring tape up here at, there we go, at the starting mark, and measuring down the inseam. Remember, I am laying the edge of my measuring tape up to about 1 inch in for that. And I come down here and I have a outseam of 40 1/4 inches long, and my outseam on my personal height is 42 inches. So I am going to actually lengthen my pant by about 2 inches. And I'm going to do it at the mark, right about the knee mark here, where it says lengthen or shorten here. Okay, the other marking is for anything that needs to lengthen or shorten within my crotch depth from my waist to the end of my torso. I'm good there. So I'm going to come down here and I will split my pattern this way, right on that line. Now, let's say I was shorter and I needed to actually shorten it, then I would overlap my pieces. But in this case, I need to lengthen. So I've taken a piece of scrap tissue paper. You can really use any paper you want, but after you cut your pattern out, you're going to have some scrap tissue paper. All right, and I'm going to tape it. I can tape on this side. If I always keep my tape on one side of the pattern, I can still iron the pattern from the back side, making sure that I use a wool or lower temperature setting on that. All right, now in order to make sure that I keep my leg in line with everything in the grain line, I'll extend the grain line across my extra piece of paper, and I'm going to add 2 inches. Now I know my graphing ruler is exactly 2 inches. I can place it in there. But let's say if not, I could just measure and mark those. I'm lined up on my grain line, and again, I am going to place my tape all on the same side of the pattern. Okay. If you read your directions clearly on the pant pattern, she does note you can iron out the paper, and you can if using a cool iron. All right, so now I can just trim these up on the edges, and then I am ready to lay my pattern out on my fabric, making sure that my grain lines run parallel to my fold line or my selvage edge, and then get it cut out. In my next video, I will show you the cut pieces and all the markings we want to transfer to our fabric before we actually make the pants and sew them up.